Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And I'm so sad. We are wrapping up our month-long programs of LinkedIn. You know, I love talking LinkedIn. I could talk about LinkedIn with all my guests. I think it's one of the greatest things. As I've said with every program this month, we absolutely, as professionals, have to be on LinkedIn. And if you're not on LinkedIn, why not? And after all of these programs, well, you darn well better know how, because I have had some of the coolest guests, and we have talked about why we need to be on LinkedIn. The funny thing is, we're doing this while we're under quarantine, all those various things, and we didn't really talk a lot about using LinkedIn as a job search tool. We've done that in the past, and there's certainly lots of resources out there. But what we've been talking about, and I think this is more important than anything, is building relationships, how to actually do business on LinkedIn. And that's what we're going to continue today. And it was funny, I started the month with one of the best, with Ted Prodromo, and I'm ending the month with one of the best. And so we're going to have so much fun today. So please join me in welcoming Phil Gerbyshak to our program today. Welcome, Phil.
Hey, Deb. Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we will jump into this because we're going to have so much fun discussing this. So Phil Gerbyshak knows sales. He's a sales speaker, a sales expert, a sales trainer, a sales leader mentor, a sales podcaster, and a sales coach. He's written 5 books, more than 3,000 articles, and has been quoted in the Wall Street Journal, Daily Globe and Mail, Financial Times, Investors Business Daily, Inc., and many other publications, including earning 3 covers in Speaker Magazine, Marketing, Media, and Money, and Social Selling Made Easy. Phil is known as a sales, leadership, and technology authority with a particular expertise in LinkedIn and social selling. So again, Phil, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's fun. I've done a lot of stuff. It's amazing to think of where I am now to where I used to be. So
I know. And a big chunk of that is due to the fact that you use LinkedIn. And it's funny because many times when people say sales, how many times do people go, ooh, Phil does sales. You like sales? Ew. But truth be told, we're all in sales. And so we just got to get over that. No faces, no making faces. But let's go back a little bit and tell us how it is that you decided this is your passion in life.
Well, if we rewind a long ways, I was in the Navy. I delivered email by hand, working for the National Security Agency. Okay. Working for the NSA. And I really thought the internet was fake back in 1992. And spent 4 years in the Navy, spent time doing that, delivering email by hand. The internet started becoming more real. And then I started building a little bit of websites. And then at some point, social media came along. This whole Web 2.0, right? The way to go back and forth. Because websites originally, with slow internet, I tried to sell high-speed internet when it's really slow. And I'll tell you, it's very hard to convince people that didn't work. Because dial-up internet was super, super slow. I mean, I delivered faxes by 2400 baud. So that didn't work.
And it made those funny noises, and it might connect, it might not. Yeah.
Exactly. So I did that. And then I got my first sales job. So as I said, selling high-speed internet. And I started to realize, this internet thing is real. And people were posting at the time, social media was a guest book. Right. People posting in guest books and IRC and other chat features, much like we have now today with Messenger. And it's interesting as that Web 2.0 started cranking up, it just made more sense as an opportunity to connect with more people. So started blogging, podcasting, doing other things, and eventually, got a job as a stockbroker, got a job selling software, and realized that if I married my love of technology with my love of teaching and training, and package that into a saleable package, right, to make sales with my sales background, that I could be really effective. So I just put it all together, and here we are today.
So why did you decide that LinkedIn really was a critical component in this whole process?
Well, I think LinkedIn kind of chose me even more than I chose it. I was on Twitter. I was a very early adopter of Twitter. I didn't adopt Facebook very, very early, but LinkedIn was really the one that made the most sense to me and kind of chose me because that's where the people that I wanted to talk to were located. That's where all the business people were. I mean, Twitter was fun, and I met a lot of people at conferences. I'm thankful. Drew McClellan and Connie Reese and Chris Brogan and some of the early pioneers in social media marketing were there. But LinkedIn was really the business place. It's where business happened. And initially, when LinkedIn started, you really could go 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. So I could go 6 people out and find someone that I wanted to talk to and basically pass an introduction through. So it just made sense that LinkedIn would be the place because I like to talk business. Business is my passion and my hobby, as well as obviously my vocation. And I just thought, I should just invest more time here. And thankfully, LinkedIn has continued to improve, and maybe not as fast as some of the other ones, but certainly more deliberately than any other social network.
Right. And it has stayed very business focused. Every once in a while, it'll get a little Facebooky, and then it kind of reins itself back in. And that's what I like about it. It sees the programmers, whoever, it's funny. We give these things, they become entities. My mother says, go ask Google something, and she calls her a female, but LinkedIn looks at things that work well on other platforms and then slowly implements it. Rolling out live video, I think is one of the newest things I don't have yet. But it's one of the things that, they looked at because Facebook does it, some of the other platforms do it. And LinkedIn kind of thought, let's see. But that's what I've liked about it is they have looked at what works and what doesn't. But in particular, it's business. We are staying business.
Yeah, I would say it's probably 80-20 now. It's probably 80% business, 20% personal. You can add stickers. You can send people emojis, right? You can embed GIFs. You can send voice messages, and there's private messaging. But yeah, it's mostly business. And I think it's good to be personal, but to stay focused on how does that personality, right? How does that shine through to actually get work done?
Right.
Which is always the entertaining thing I think about Facebook is that people really, they're okay posting cat memes. They're talking about the Tiger King, stuff like that. Thankfully, I don't see as much of that on LinkedIn. And I think that's why corporations are more happy to have it. And frankly, sadly, that's why adoption has been lower because it's not a place to go and waste your time.
It's not
you
fun.
have to go and invest your time. Yeah, it's not as fun, right? It's not as unintentionally fun, but it absolutely, I mean, what could, at least for me, maybe I'm weird, but I really like what I do for business. I really enjoy sales and being a sales professional and getting to know, get to know my prospects, get to know my customers, get to know my peers, get to know my coworkers, not what they had for dinner last night, but certainly what are they interested in and what makes them who they are.
Right. And I was looking through your website and looking at some of your blog posts, and one of the things that you talked about is that we do have to bring a little of our personality into things. You're known for your glasses, and you have different colors, maybe not a lot of different styles, but different colors, things like that. But that's not off the wall, and I think that's the thing with LinkedIn is we can bring some of our personality in, and I think we should, because that is where we really connect with people. But we're not posting the funny memes. We're not posting politics. We're not even really posting right now, in particular, about coronavirus, except as it pertains to business. But we do get some of that personal in there.
Yeah, we sure do. And it's interesting, I call it finding what's your weird and really exploiting that. It's not necessarily as off the wall as you said, right? And certainly, it's not, cheeky bathroom humor either. It's more business type humor, which I really like. I mean, it's things that hopefully that you'd see in the Wall Street Journal or something like that, which elevates our brainwaves and helps us be more in business. And yes, I get it. We need a break from that. So go somewhere else. But I like the fact that it's focused on that. I like the fact that not a lot of people talk about politics. I like the fact that it isn't a place to go and waste 2 hours of my day. And I don't look up and like, oh, geez, I just wasted 2 hours like I might on YouTube or Facebook. So I actually like that. I like the fact that my time gets to be more intentional than it is more kind of floppy.
Right. And on LinkedIn, if we kind of, go squirrel and go after something, it's business focused, so it might be a great article from an influencer or, a great article that's in a publication that we might not have seen otherwise, and things like that. And so that's kind of an okay use of your time.
I think so. Again, if I think about, if I was worried about what my boss thought, and there was a choice between talking about business and how to improve myself and books that I'm reading, or talking about the Kardashians and the Tiger King and other stuff. I think my boss would be okay if I was talking about business, and probably not so okay if I was talking about the other stuff. So for me, that just makes sense. And again, most companies are there. Now that Microsoft owns LinkedIn, I think we're going to see even more of an emphasis on the business of LinkedIn as opposed to, trying to be more Facebooky.
Right. And the cool thing is they're building some things into it, to mesh the two things together. Like, how you can be in Outlook and somebody's LinkedIn profile comes up, and, all of these various things. And of course, Microsoft is professional. I mean, again, we're not going down a road where they're going to start linking in things. We're like, wait a minute, what the heck just happened here?
Yeah, I do think that is the biggest difference about LinkedIn, is that LinkedIn was created by business people, not by college students. Now, that being said, we know Bill Gates dropped out of college. We know the story, but but as we've gone, LinkedIn is really much more business minded, much more focused there, not so much as something to connect for dating, but really more for business networking. And I think that core, that essence of it, connecting to people that you already know and people that you need to know, I think is always going to be strong in LinkedIn. It's not about playing Candy Crush together. It's about growing business together.
And for those times we take it offline, it's like, oh, hey, let's go be friends on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that is the key, right? I mean, I don't think that anybody sells on LinkedIn, not effectively anyway. I see people attempting to sell, and then it fails miserably. It doesn't work. But I think, the goal is to get to know someone enough that they'll take a phone call, that they'll take an email, that perhaps we can be friends on another platform. We can get to know each other more. And I think that's really a nice thing, because often those business interests, we spend a lot of our time at work, and we have a lot of passion behind that. And frankly, the more effective we can be at work, the more fun we can have at home. Because frankly, if we're separating business and home or trying to balance that, we need then that focused time. And I think LinkedIn gives us that.
Right. And it's interesting because, as we've said, we still bring that little bit of person in there. And that is because we're building relationships with people, and so that they do take our calls. They're like, oh yeah, I remember that Phil had that, he's had links to several great articles, or he commented on some of my posts, or, things like that. And so then when we reach out to them truly in a business sense, they're like, oh yeah, I know that person. It's not just, didn't they post this stupid cat video?
Yeah. Well, that's the hope, right? I mean, to make a real connection, we have to have more than just some surface garbage. And that's where I think LinkedIn does really well. And some people then just go one level deep and just look at demographic information, which is why those people just annoy us so much, because it's an opportunity to really go deeper, to do a little bit of research, to do a little bit of digging. And it does take work. It's not like Facebook where we can just accidentally connect. We have to be intentional. And I actually really like that. I like to put effort into my relationships. I don't want to be lazy. I want to go deeper. And I get that on LinkedIn.
Right. And I was funny. It was when I was talking with one of my other guests this month, one of the things that we talked about was the fact that when you contact somebody on LinkedIn, almost always you're contacting the person. They don't have a gatekeeper. It's not, it's not somebody else. Now, sometimes it is, depends on how they're using it and things like that. But for the most part, when we reach out, we're contacting that person. And that's exactly what happened with you and I. I had contacted Brian Basilico, who we had on earlier in the month. And I said, hey, Brian, looking for, a couple more guests. And he said, oh my gosh, we need to connect you with Phil. And so through LinkedIn, we connected and we did some messaging there. And, and I knew I was talking with you. I wasn't talking with your assistant. I wasn't talking with your scheduler, your VA, your whoever. I was talking with you. And I think that's one of the benefits. But of course it is, so people need to also keep that in mind and not spam. I mean, that's the worst thing.
Yeah, spam is really a big challenge on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. I think a couple things happen. One is people want to connect as many people as possible because it's free. And by free, I mean, even if you pay for Navigator, I mean, it's virtually free. There's several 100 million people on there that you can reach out to. You can buy in-mails, you can send connection requests. And it's like email, there's almost no friction there. So spam becomes an easy thing. And we can see one piece of information, right? I can see your job title, I can see your industry, company size, things like that. And yes, I can put those together, but most of these spammers, they're not that smart. No. They go out and they pick one piece. Oh, hey, I see you're a podcaster. Therefore, would you like to pay to get more guests? No, thank you. I'm pretty good myself. Or, hey, I see, often they cut off, because I'm a VP of sales training at Vector Solutions, they cut off the training piece. Oh, I see you're a VP of sales. Therefore, you must be interested in this. It's
right. Like, we can help you train people.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, not so much. And I get all the time. If you read my profile, you'll see, to your point, it is very much me. It is not anybody else. It's never anybody else. And I get the, hey, would you like to outsource your LinkedIn network to us? I'm like, absolutely not. Thanks for asking. Right. So I think that's the spam piece, the fact that it's free. And then people build these tools that go out and do that. And frankly, unfortunately, because LinkedIn is software as a service, because it's a website basically, and they have to keep the code pretty clean to make it load fast and things like that. People build these tools and it's impossible for Microsoft to keep up. Right. So people just keep building these tools and then spam. And what it does is it actually decreases the reliability and the ability for us to talk to those people that we actually want to talk to, because they just assume you said sales before, but let's replace that with you're on LinkedIn. It's like, blah, you're going to sales pitch me. And it's like, no, I'm not going to sales pitch you. I'm going to see how I can serve you. And if there's an opportunity to serve, yes, I'm going to make you an offer, but I'm not going to just be gross and spammy. And I think we've never grown up from the fact that salespeople are like 1976 with Kurt Russell and used cars. That's still the mindset of salespeople and has unfortunately been pervasive on LinkedIn as well.
Right. And there's nothing worse than when we get the messages that we know are the cut and paste. And my favorites are when they don't even get my name right. And I always know that they don't know me if they use Deborah. But now my profile is Deborah, so that's where they get that. But if they use Deborah, it's like, no, you do not know me. You've never met me. We've, and all of those various things. But then it's the, because we have so many mutual connections, and I'll look and there's like two, and I don't even know who those two people are. I'm like, okay, well, yeah. But then I think what annoys me more is I might go ahead and accept. I mean, I'm pretty open to networking if they have a picture, if they have, there's some of the criteria that I want, but then if immediately I get a response, because then I know that's not real, because nobody typed that fast, and it is truly a canned response. And so then they're gone. I mean, I might not disconnect from them, but I'm never going to pay attention again. And the problem is they might really be a great contact, but they blew it within the first 5 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I wouldn't ask you to marry me on the first date, but yet I'm going to try to get in your sales and marketing pants on the first date. It's like,
Right.
I don't think so. Like, I don't understand that. And it's interesting because I see some of these folks, they purposely put symbols in their profile because, or emojis, because those emojis translate into symbols, which means if anybody ever did that to them, they'd know it, but they'd still do it to other people. I got one yesterday. It's so interesting. I really thought that it was a genuine conversation and then followed up with me in a personal way, clearly didn't notice that I had responded to his automated message. So he came at me again, like it was the first time we talked.
Right.
Like, yay. I worry what you're going to sell me now. And it just creates that niggle of doubt, right? I mean, one of the things in sales that I always remind folks on, nothing sells like confidence and nothing loses a sale like a lack of authenticity. And that's just not authentic. It's not how people work. Nobody wants to talk to that. So we have to take the time to personalize. Yes, does marketing create some great messages? Absolutely. But marketing cannot do the research to go those one-on-one relationships that we need for sales.
Right. And you said the word, it's relationships. I don't care if something is going to cost 10 cents or $10,000. It's about building that relationship first. And we tend to forget that. And part of that is because we think what we have is so great. Well, why wouldn't you want to buy it? Why wouldn't you want me to help you get 10,000 new followers? All these various things. But yeah, it's back to that relationship. If I get a response from somebody who I connected with, and they say, hey, great connecting with you. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help. That very well might have been a canned response, because that's pretty basic. But that was very different than here's what I can do to help. And then of course my next favorites are the ones that about a day later say, I haven't heard back from you. I'm like, what, are you my mother?
Yeah. It is interesting, right? It's your point. I wouldn't do that to my mom.
Right.
Why would I do that to a stranger? Why would I do that to someone that I want to do business with? I mean, most of the time, nagging someone to submission is not a great way to build a relationship. Right. It's not a great way to do business. So why do we think we can do that on social media? I don't understand. I think we forget the social piece and we focus on the me piece, which is I need a sale. And it gets us in trouble.
Right. Yeah, I noticed you have several blog posts about we need to be friends first and do business last. Yeah. And granted, I mean, there are times where we're able to sell something. I mean, they were looking for something. They went, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's a store, whether it's your website, whatever, they were looking for that product or service. And they're like, okay, you've got it. I'll buy from you. But for the most part, that's not the way the world works.
Yeah, not at all. I think it's interesting. As Amazon becomes more friction-free and it's one click to buy, I think that's wonderful for consumer goods. I really do. I think the less friction, the better on that. And I wish that, that could be the case in more businesses. As I walk into a store, I would love a tractor beam that just takes me to exactly what I need. Yes. And when I don't, I love the fact that Ace Hardware, for instance, they have smart people there that can answer my questions. That's great, right? I love that. But on the other hand, the higher the price tag, the more risk there is, and the more I need reassurance and an expert salesperson to de-risk that buy for me, that purchase. Because if they can't confirm, yes, this is the right thing. Yes, other people like you have made this investment. Yes, it has had a return on investment. Yes, this is useful. Yes, this is exactly what you look for, which can only happen in a conversation. Well, why do we not allow those conversations? I don't understand. Right.
Yeah, as you were talking about that, I was thinking about several years ago when we bought a new car. And, and we go and it's my husband's car. I'm just there tagging along. And we had certain criteria, all sorts of things, and we'd researched in advance, all these various things. And there was one of the places we went to had a woman who was the salesperson. Great. Love that. She focused in on me. Wasn't even going to talk to my husband, even though I said several times, this is his car. You need to, because I mean, it was even, what color do you want? And all these various things. And she lost the sale because she went, oh, I'm a woman. She's a woman. I should be able to sell to her. She never stopped to even pay attention when we were saying, hey, he's the one who's got questions.
Yeah, we have to listen. I think that's so often missed. We have to listen. We have to pay attention, ask questions, and then respond appropriately.
Right.
We so often miss that. And the more that we miss that, the less people trust us. I mean, the first time, okay, she missed that your husband's part of, all right, that's fine. You probably forgive that. That's cool. But by the third or fourth time, it's like, are they listening?
Right.
Am I in an echo chamber? What the heck happened here?
And I'd even wandered off and she came after me, and it was like, no, but yeah, it is about listening or reading, reading what they're posting. And of course, the problem is that as marketing people, we're told, find someone's pain and fix it. And so we read, they might post, say on Facebook, they might post, having trouble with X, I need to buy X. We pay no attention to anything else, and we're going to fix that problem for them. And again, we didn't pay any attention to them.
Yeah. We homed in, as you said, right? We zero in, we get happy years. That's what we call it in sales, right? We get happy years. Oh, I heard that. You're going to buy, buy. But if I lock in and that often does not happen, we have to ask more questions. First, we have to get the pain to be acute enough that fixing it right now is important. Right. And I think that's often the miss, right? Like what happens if you don't do this? What happens if, right? That's the qualification stage that's often missed. I think many salespeople get happy years because they fail to disqualify as much as they fail to qualify. Right. I mean, if we're a dental office, if I need my teeth cleaning and I make an appointment and I call up and you call me right back, don't be surprised if we play phone tag a few times.
Right.
But if I've got an abscessed tooth and I'm in intense, excruciating pain,
I'm going to pick up that phone.
Not only am I going to pick up the phone, but don't be surprised if I'm willing to wait half an hour to talk to somebody to get in today. Yep. Don't be surprised if I want on the waiting list and I'm willing to pay a premium because I'm really in pain. And if I don't get that, I know I'm going to have sepsis and I might die. I mean, that's the difference, right? And so ROI is such an important calculation. It's such an important understanding to understand what it really hurts. That's what ROI is. What hurts and what do I benefit from that? And that's often the miss when we're in sales because we just hear, oh yeah, their process is antiquated, therefore they must fix it. No, they don't. My dad still has a flip phone. He has zero desire to ever get email, to ever get a phone. But if you just saw, oh, he lives out in the woods and he doesn't have cable even, he needs entertainment, he should get internet, you'd miss the point that he needs a flip phone because he often will drive over the phone because he was a woodsman.
He doesn't care about it.
He doesn't care, right? It's not important. I mean, he loves his phone, but he doesn't need it in the same way that I do.
Right. So how do we sell on LinkedIn? Can we even sell on LinkedIn?
Well, I think we sell ourselves, right? And the root of sales really is service. And if we can serve, then yes, we can sell, but not directly on LinkedIn. So if we think about how can we be of service to people, we pay attention to them, we make connections for them. Sometimes we applaud them. We get personal with them. We might share, I see, hey, Deb, I see you just celebrated 12 years in business. Congratulations. And then go a little further than that. And what's changed in the last 12 years? How are things different now? We have to go deeper than the surface. So I think we have these opportunities for others that are on LinkedIn. Now, granted, not every industry, not every person is on LinkedIn. But for those that are, they're usually there for a purpose. And we have an opportunity then to do that. We can pay attention to birthdays and anniversaries and job changes and things like that. And I actually then use LinkedIn to then drive a phone call. I see that it's your birthday and I'm going to be the one person that doesn't just respond with an HBD. I'm going to be the person that picks up the phone and calls you if I have your phone number and says, hey, Deb, I hope you had a great birthday. What are you doing for your birthday? So that in a few weeks, I can earn the right to call you back and ask you how that went. And then hopefully by then we have a little bit of a relationship that perhaps you'll share a little bit of your pain to see if there's a chance that I can serve you.
Right. You know, and of course, people hear that and they think, Phil, that takes so much time. I don't have that much time. But a lot of what the other things that they are doing is a waste of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about relationships as an investment, and you're right. You cannot build them tomorrow. You cannot build them today. You have to build them yesterday. You know, you have to really take the time to know that, you know, you should always be building that. Now, if you just get a new job in a totally new industry, you're going to have to find some ways to serve. Maybe you piggyback off your company's success, and that's okay too. But yes, it does take time. It will take time. You didn't marry your significant other on the first date. If you did, you're even weirder than me. I did once get married after 3 days. That's my quickest one. Didn't work out real well, but that's okay, right? I did that, but anybody quicker than me, I'd love to hear from you, right? Love to hear that, but that didn't work.
No.
That didn't work. It was not a good long-term fit.
There were just things that were not going to match.
Yeah. Well, and we never investigated any of those, right? We never got any of those out. And had we would have never gotten married.
Right.
Well,
you might not have even been friends.
Right. Well, that's for sure. Cause we're not. Contrast that, you know, with others that I've been friends with for many, many years.
Right.
Very different, right? That I would do business with now. Even now, today, even if I hadn't talked to them for years, because of the fact that we built a relationship yesterday.
Right. You know, and what was initially taught years ago when there was sales training was how to make it personal, to send the cards, to make the phone calls, you know, all of those various things. I have cards up on my wall from people that they sent them to me for my birthday years ago, because I just thought, well, hey, this is cool. You know, and if somebody calls me and I don't recognize their number, I'm probably not going to pick it up. But then I'm going to go, oh my gosh, I missed a call from Phil. You know, but at the same point, you know, it's something that is just so quick, because all you're going to do is you're going to say, hey, you know, just, I saw it was your birthday. Just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. Have a great day. Click. You know, if there's something more, then that's good. But for the most part, it's just, you know, hey, you know, and you know, and the people who kept the card files and knew when anniversaries were, and, you know, when their kids were graduating from high school. It's poor kids, they don't get to graduate this year. You know, all these various things. And maybe now is, and actually, I'm not even going to say maybe, I think right now is when we absolutely have to start making things more personal. You know, as we're recording this, we've been stuck in our offices, our home offices for, you know, I've been here for 4 weeks. Most people, it's been about 2. We've got at least 2 more, you know, maybe even longer than that. So just think if you started getting phone calls and started getting even emails, you know, but real physical mail from people. And I mean, you know, we've already started doing things like Zoom, where we've been, you know, having one-on-one meetings and online networking and things like that, because we're social creatures. You know, we need that human contact.
We absolutely do. And I think your point about anniversaries and things like that is absolutely true. I talk about how connection starts with happy birthday. So it's your birthday. I wish you a happy birthday. I call you, I ask you about that. But then as the relationship grows, right? I know anniversary date. I know maybe when your kids are born. I know when you moved. I know when you changed jobs. You know, if you've adopted, right? Gotcha day is a big day. I start finding out not just your birthday, but what is your most important day? And how do you celebrate that? Really important. So I can tell you that I have a friend named Kevin who I called him one year on his wedding anniversary, because he always used to say that his wife was his greatest gift. So I called him on his anniversary and he goes, wow, how did you know that? I said, well, you post about it every year on social media.
Right.
Obviously, it's important to you. I just paid attention to that, Kevin. He goes, wow, nobody ever calls me on my anniversary. Now, I want you to think about that. If you're talking to a prospect and they tell you that in 2 weeks, something important is happening, and you call them then either on that day, or if you know they're going to be out of the office, maybe the following Monday, and you follow up with them. Do you think they're going to remember you?
They are.
They've got to. They have no choice. Their brain's like, oh, wow. Again, birthdays. I've got, I've been on social media a long time. So I've got 20, 30, 40,000 people on there. I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you my number, right? So with that, I get less than 20 people that call me on my birthday.
Wow.
If we shrink that down, right, the average human being has about 500 people, let's say 400 just for math. So that's a factor of 1,000 or 100 less than me, right? So two magnitudes down. That means that the average person probably gets 0.2 phone calls on their birthday. If you call them, you stand out.
Right.
Even if they don't answer the phone and you just wish them a happy birthday and it goes in their voicemail, if they check that message, you will stand out.
Right.
If you call them on their anniversary, probably less than that call them. So take the time, right? Really be personal, because I think that time is now. And about physical mail, my fiance is a sales manager. She took the time 2 weeks ago to send handwritten notes to all of her salespeople and then all of their ops people. So she sent 30, 35 messages out. Over half have either contacted her or posted company-wide about how amazing she is for doing that. And she didn't do it for that.
Right.
She didn't want any kudos. She actually genuinely wanted to say thank you in the most impactful way she could. But think about that. If you could positively impact half of your customers, half of the people you've talked to, not with the same card, but with a different handwritten note that says specifically something about that person, you can absolutely stand out.
Right.
And it isn't that hard or expensive.
Right. And it doesn't take a lot of time, so you do it on maybe Sunday while you're watching TV, so you've got it done for the week, all those various things. And you're not doing a ton. I mean, it's not like you're doing, your wedding invitations where you're doing, several hundred at once. You're doing just a handful. So then you can put a little personal note in there. And maybe it's just, something along the lines of, hey, you survived another year, but if you know something personal that you can add in there, that's even better.
Yeah, it's better. And again, think about this. You're not trying to send 40,000 messages.
Right.
You're looking for those people that you genuinely care about, that you genuinely want to impact. This is not a sales strategy. This is a relationship strategy.
Right.
This is about who do I want to positively impact because I genuinely care about them.
Right.
Not everybody.
Right. I even do that on Facebook, because Facebook tells you every day who the birthdays are. I look through, and I've got about 3,000 connections on Facebook. I look through, and if I know who they are, then I send them a happy birthday. But if it's just some, connection where maybe we went to a networking group together or something like that, I don't send them a happy birthday. And, and I know that there are people who say you should always send something, especially since Facebook makes it so easy. You should say happy birthday to every single person. And I know I'm probably missing out on some of those because somebody might go, oh my gosh, I heard from Deb, but yeah, I only send the ones to the people who I know.
I go one step further. On people's birthdays, I look and I see if there's a relationship there. I see if I actually want to develop a relationship with them. I look at the friendship. Nothing happens. No posts in common. I can't remember anything about this person.
Are they gone?
I will not only unfriend them, but I will unfriend many of the people that we have in common because likely we have nothing really in common except for the fact that maybe we belonged together 20 years ago or 10 years ago, or we went to one event and the whole thing was, hey, let's connect to everybody. Well, I don't want to connect to everybody. I don't want everybody in my network, and I don't want to do business with everybody. That's the thing. Again, as a sales trainer, as a salesman, I don't want to work with everybody. I want to work with only those that I can most positively impact. And, LinkedIn makes that easy. Facebook makes that easy. Twitter makes that easy. Just pay attention to that and be individually impactful, and you can make a big difference in people's lives.
Right. So what are some of the other mistakes that people make when they use LinkedIn? And I mean, the big one is that we just don't personalize and we spam, but what are some other things that people should do, especially since we've been talking LinkedIn for a whole month? What are some of the big mistakes that people do?
Well, let's flip that over. And I make this one too. You spam or you don't do anything. You just set it and forget it, right? We're connected and now we never talk again.
Right.
Well, that's just a big mistake. I think that we should take the time. If somebody is a good business connection, we should take the time to attempt to make a business connection. Again, doesn't scale though. You can't do that. One of the things that I see often is people they connect and then they're gone. So don't make that mistake, right? Be intentional. Try to make the first touch. Try to make it meaningful in the connection. If they accept, then follow up with a thank you very much. It's great to connect. Are you working on anything good? See if you can have a conversation. See if you can do that, because the reason they connected to someone is because ultimately you think they're a good fit for your business, not just because you like their profile picture. So that's a big miss that I see with people. The other miss I see is people that they don't ever search. They don't ever look for anything. They only take what comes inbound.
Right.
So they don't look for people. They don't look for content. They don't look for anything that could help them. I mean, what are you doing on LinkedIn if you don't want help?
Right.
So do some searching, do some searching. And then I'll give you one last mistake. And that is they fail to get off of their own timeline. They just post on what's in the feed or on their own stuff. And they never go make any conversation anywhere else.
Right.
It'd be like if you had a cocktail party at your house, you invited 1,000 of people that you want to talk to, and then the only people that you talk to are the 7 people that come your way with a free cocktail.
Yeah, I plunked down and that was that.
That was it, right? And so those 3 things, I think, are the biggest mistakes that I see people make on LinkedIn. And the great news is they're easy to remedy. Have a strategy. Dedicate some time every day, and then go do the work. If you can focus on the 3 H's, you can really win on LinkedIn. You got to be human first. You got to be helpful second. You got to be humble third.
Right.
Human is pretty simple. We've been talking about that this whole time, Deb. How to be human, right? Just that means don't automate. Don't try to connect to too many people. Don't be ridiculous. Being helpful, be of service.
Right.
Can you be useful? Turn up the value before you turn up the volume. Really important. Then humble.
Right.
I don't need to tell people that I'm the greatest sales trainer on the planet. I'll let them decide that. I'll let them read the people who've written me testimonials. I'll let that be because that is indefensible. Best, what is best compared to what?
Right.
Compared to who? Compared to when? Right? Maybe the greatest in my own mind. I don't know. So we have to be really careful. But if we can focus on those 3 H's, we avoid many of the other obstacles that get in our way from being successful on LinkedIn.
Right. It's interesting through this whole time, and then especially after talking with you, I think I need to go through my LinkedIn connections. And I don't know, it's 3,000-ish somewhere on there. And just like we do on Facebook, weed people out. If there's no reason for us to be connected, then why be connected? Because this whole stupid numbers thing that we get caught up in, well, how many connections do you have? It doesn't matter. If I'm never going to talk to 2,000 people, then why have them on there? Only have the people. And because more importantly, I want, as you were saying, I get their information. So I want to see what they're posting. Is it something that are they going to be providing great content that I love, great resources, all those things. It was funny. Just today, I had a friend of mine, a true friend, a real person that I know out in the real world. She contacted me and she said, I see you're connected with so-and-so on LinkedIn. How did that happen? Okay. So, I look, this person is a realtor in Houston, Texas. I have, and we don't have a single mutual connection. I have no idea how I'm connected with this person. And, she looks like a nice person, but, and so I went back to the first person and I said, I got to tell you, I have no idea. And she said, well, I was just curious. She said, because my mother and her mother are really good friends. And I just thought this was such a small world. I said, well, it is a small world, but yeah, I have no idea why. And so why should I be connected with her? Just because she's a nice person or she sent me a request. And that's the other thing, we get these requests and we feel like we must accept them. No, we don't.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think we need a connection strategy, right? We need to think about, so who are we connecting with? For me, you mentioned right off the jump here, are they human beings, right? Do they have a profile picture?
Right.
Are they free of typos? Do they have real jobs? Do they look human? That's the first thing. That's my first gate that they must pass. And then, can I help them or can they help me? That's the second one. And frankly, I let most people in the first time, Deb, but then if I don't ever do anything with them, well, then they're useless. And they're just clogging up space. So one of the things, if you're thinking, boy, I've got some extra time on my hands, I wonder what I could do. I would encourage you, go through your LinkedIn connections and send 10 or 20 or 50 messages a day that says, hey, we've never talked. I'm not quite sure why we're connected. Do you have 10 minutes? We can have a conversation that we can see if we can actually help each other. And just rekindle or start the ember burning of how we might be of service to each other. Because once we do that, well, now we can see that. Or if it's someone we haven't talked to in a while, so all you do that is just go on and export all your contacts and you'll only get their names in a spreadsheet. But then go down and just peck off 20, 30 a day. Make it happen, simple little messages, and then see what happens.
And if they completely ignore you, or worse, they go away or whatever, okay, then you get rid of them. And people love that personal touch. When we moved here from Atlanta or from Denver, we had a lot of notice. I mean, like I knew about a year in advance that we were going to move. And so I would do 20, 30 a week, where I just randomly picked a zip code. We didn't know where we'd be living, anything like that. And at that point, I didn't even care what they did. I just wanted to expand my connections. So I sent them an email or a request to connect. And I said, hey, I'm moving from Denver to Atlanta sometime in 2012. And right now I'm just building my network. Would you like to connect with me? Every single one connected. And I don't know how much of that was, it was kind of a personal thing. I wasn't asking them for anything like that. And I immediately, and I responded, thank you so much. I'll be in touch when we move. So then when we moved, I did the thing. I went through, all of those people. Hey, I've moved to Atlanta. I would love to learn more about what you do. Can I take you for coffee? Almost all of them accepted. Some of them said, and there were some that I went, okay, this really doesn't make sense, and so I skipped those. But there was only one that actually made me buy my own coffee. I thought that was very interesting. There were some that completely just, nah, there's no, and that was fine. We probably wouldn't have connected anyway. So that was cool. But I made some of the greatest business connections by doing that. And I didn't say anything about what I did, nothing at all. I just said, I want to learn more about you.
Yeah, and it's amazing how that works, right? If we're more interested in the other person than in ourselves, it's amazing how well we can connect with people. Just be curious, be open, be interested, and people will reciprocate.
Right. And some of those people, we've been here 8 years. I still communicate with them every week.
Wow.
And so, they clearly were great connections. Some of them, whatever, they're gone. But that's what happens in real life too. I mean, we have the big stack of business cards that there's like 3 in there that get a little dog-eared because we pull them out every once in a while. But the rest of them were like, where did I meet this person?
Yeah, for sure. That's funny. I totally agree. I mean, that's really, if we really talk about how I got started on LinkedIn, it's because I had a Rolodex with people that no longer worked at companies. And I had to find another way to find them, and LinkedIn was it.
Interesting. And so you were sleuthing and tracking them back down.
Absolutely, because I needed help.
Right.
I needed someone to provide the services that they had. Otherwise, I wouldn't be looking at them. And because they didn't have a forwarding email, they didn't have a forwarding phone number, LinkedIn happened to be where they were. And I connected to them. And then had I been paying attention, I will now, obviously, but had I been paying attention, I would have recognized that they weren't at the same company that was on their business card anymore, in which case maybe they're doing something totally different.
Right. And that is the reason, folks, why you use a different email address than your business email address. Now, it might be in there, but, it's okay to have the Gmail, to have, so that there's a way for people to reach you when you're no longer at that company. Or more importantly, you can get into your LinkedIn account when you're no longer at that company.
Yeah, you need to add both of them. Absolutely. Because when you leave, you lose access if you don't have it. And it then becomes property of your company because they don't have to give you proper access to that. We had someone that she got locked out of her account for several years because the company changed a couple times and the mail stopped forwarding. That's a problem.
Yep.
So absolutely, make sure you add your Gmail onto your account as an alternative.
Right. It's funny. We laugh about the fact that that's not always a professional email address. Okay, well, it's not, hot mama at. It's Deb Creer at, Gmail or whatever it is. And so that we're still professional, but you want to have access to your LinkedIn account when you're no longer with that company, and it gets a little tricky, and we don't have enough time to talk about this. If your company is saying you will be using LinkedIn, okay, and I tell people don't set up multiple accounts. All that does is confuse everybody, but it's a tricky thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an important thing to do, right? I don't know that it's so tricky, right? But it's important. You got to do it right, or you're missing out.
Right. And you can certainly be using it to the benefit of your current employer.
Absolutely.
When you're working for them. And I tell people just make it clear, that's why it asks for current, employment and all of those things. Now, where it really gets tricky is when you're thinking, I'm going to go elsewhere. I'm looking for another job. Yeah. Okay. That really does open up a whole different can of worms.
Yeah, that's a totally different conversation for another day. Right. But yeah, it's very, very different there. Still, if your primary, though, is your Gmail, that's where the messages go. Right. You'll notice that no longer does the body of the message actually say what is in the message. Right. So that if you are job seeking, it's not like your boss is going to see what that is. But I will tell you, though, a smart boss sees that you've just connected with 17 people, recruiting firms. Yeah. They're paying attention to that. Yeah. So just be smart about it. Be respectful. Don't do it at work. Right. Don't look for another job while you're currently at the job, like in your butt in your seat. Take the time otherwise to do that.
Right. Yeah. And now, of course, it is rather tricky because we have people who are working from home, all these, and so this is kind of an anomaly right now that will hopefully go away. But yeah, it's just be professional, because it comes back to, if I know that, Phil's looking for another job while Phil's at work, I'm thinking, I'm not sure I want to hire Phil.
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Integrity goes a long way, folks. So be in integrity. Don't look for another job while you're sitting at work doing your job. Yep. Not saying you can't do that outside of work. That is not what we're saying. Right. We're saying while your butt is in the seat, you're getting paid for your 8 to 10 hours a day. Yep. Do your 8 to 10 hours a day of work.
Focus on that job.
That's right.
Right. Cool. Well, one of the things we talked about, we don't have much time left, is, that LinkedIn adds features. And one of the features it has added is LinkedIn Live. I don't have it yet. I keep asking to get it. But what is LinkedIn Live and what's it good for?
Yeah, so LinkedIn Live is like Facebook Live, like YouTube Live, like Periscope on Twitter, Instagram Live. It's the ability to go live as a TV show, as your own thing. And the key to LinkedIn Live, I think, is you have to have a different point of view and can't do what everybody else is doing. So now that being said, there's no magical formula to how you get it, but it is an ability, the opportunity to stay in front of your audience in a live way. Now, I'll tell you, even though it's a new feature, LinkedIn does not make your live super visible. Like there's nowhere on my profile that says, here's the 17 times I've gone live.
Right. Phil could do live.
Right. But it does, but it does pop up and say, hey, Phil Gerbyshak is live now to my connections that are on LinkedIn. But it
goes in the notification and it says you were live. So then I can look at that.
That's right. Yep. And so that's interesting. But LinkedIn Live, pretty simple. I mean, I use StreamYard to make that work. And I can broadcast to my Facebook page and to my LinkedIn profile at the same time so that I can do that again, because LinkedIn is very individual. That's how I choose to do it. Could I go to my company page? Sure, I could. But I can't. I find that it's better on my personal page, my personal profile. And it's really just, it's just live video, live unedited video where you can have that. Now, again, if you use StreamYard, you can actually download the video after the fact so that I have it, so that then I can upload it to YouTube. And that helps me a lot.
Right. Right. And it's a matter of taking advantage of the tools that are there, and they change. I was talking with one of my other guests that, publishing was a great thing for a while. And we published articles. Well, that's for the most part gone away. I don't know why. I kind of like the feature, but, for now, LinkedIn doesn't mind if you're sending somebody off the platform, to YouTube, to another magazine on it, to whatever. Facebook, of course, has a conniption fit over that. It doesn't like it when you do that because Facebook wants you to stay there and stay there forever. But, it's LinkedIn, and I think that maybe part of that is LinkedIn is trying to stay professional. I mean, it knows that people are being a great resource. And so they're going to send somebody to Forbes, or they're going to send somebody to, to read an article in the Wall Street Journal or whatever. And so you shouldn't penalize them because they'll come back to LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's interesting because, that you're not getting penalized. Periodically mine does. I see that, it reaches 3 or 4 people only instead of 300 or 400 people.
Right. You're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with 14,000 connections, I would expect that, hopefully 10% or more get to see that, but that's often not the case. Right. So LinkedIn is always testing stuff. I will tell you a quick secret here, and that is anytime you see LinkedIn has a feature that doesn't appear a lot of people either have or are using, you should absolutely use that because you'll get shown to more people, right. Hopefully then either helping your business, helping your personal brand, or helping your job search. So LinkedIn Live is a good example of that. Adding stickers and text to your videos, if you upload from your phone, is another great way to do that. Publishing is not as great anymore. That doesn't help. Hashtags sometimes are pretty good, but I will say, every time LinkedIn offers a new feature, you should at least play with it, see how you could use it, because frankly, they're going to prioritize that and they're going to give more preference to it.
Right. Right. And because they want people to use it to see if it's going to be successful.
That's right. Yep. And how people will use it so that they can start writing some manuals on how people can use it. Because frankly, necessity being the mother of invention, if I don't have a manual, I'm going to figure out how to use it on my own.
Right.
And that's usually pretty helpful.
Right. Right. Well, oh my gosh, Phil, we have been, talking LinkedIn for an hour and really just scratch the surface because there is so much more. We didn't talk about company pages. We didn't talk about advertising. We didn't talk about a lot of the things that LinkedIn can do. But to me, that's because we're using it still and for the most part as individuals. It's great to have company pages. We can run ads, we can do job listings, all those various things. But it comes back to being the person on there. And so that's. But yeah, to me it's fun. It changes. I was an early adopter of LinkedIn and one of those who cut and pasted my resume, and then went back years later and went, oh my gosh, I really need to be using this.
Yeah, I that's so funny. I was on LinkedIn, Deb, before you could even, upload your resume and you had to copy and paste. So it's fun to see now that is an option for us to do is we can just ingest a resume. And I think that's a good place to start, but tell a story, try to get people interested. Lots we could cover on LinkedIn, but be human, be helpful, and be humble, and you can be successful.
Perfect. Well, Phil, how do people find you and connect with you?
Well, the easiest way is if you can spell my last name, you can find me on LinkedIn or any other platform. It's Gerbyshak, is Gerbyshak. If you can pop that into your search engine, you pop that into LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you'll find me. And I'd be happy to connect with you there, or just go to philgerbyshak.com. That's PHILGERBYSHAK.com. And you can find me there as well.
Great. And I mentioned several times that, you've talked about your blog posts. That's on philgerbyshak.com. Great information there. I mean, I was starting to read some of the blog posts and I was obviously looking for things specifically that we could talk about today. But then I was also thinking, must go back and read, because there's such great content there.
Thank you. Yeah, my podcast, Conversation with Phil, is pretty fun too. It drops every Thursday. Cool. I always have some smart folks on there as well. So if you're looking for a lot of free stuff that can help you, absolutely check that out. Perfect.
I love it. And the link is on your website. So you'll make sure that you go there. Well, Phil, what final thoughts do you have for everyone, especially as we are completely wrapping up the month of LinkedIn conversations?
Well, use LinkedIn first to be social. Be as social as you can, right? Think about, how can I be more social? That's the first thing I'd encourage people to think about. And that's that human aspect that I talked about. Then think about sales as service. If you can serve, you can eventually sell. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, because it takes time to build that network. So remember that to serve is to sell. And then last but not least, no need to brag. Let your actions, let other people speak for you. Be humble about that and take the time to just be present as often as you're able. My mentor, Steve Farber, says, when you're looking for ways that you can be the best you can be, it's 3 words: be more you. And if you want it to speed up, you need to be you more.
Perfect. I love it. Well, with that, we are going to wrap up our discussion of LinkedIn for the month. We'll do it again next year, folks. And, obviously periodically throughout the year, we have other LinkedIn guests, but this has been fabulous. And I hope that, everyone has gotten something from every single one of the guests. I hope that everyone has connected with all of our guests. I mean, that's part of all of this. And, and so it's so much fun. And I just get to talk to the coolest people. I have a really fun job that I get to do. So I am Deb Creer. I've been having an absolutely delightful time talking with Phil Gerbyshak. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.